My brothers and sisters, and my beloved confreres, a very hearty welcome to all of you on this 22nd Sunday of the liturgical year. When Sachin Tendulkar hit the 35th Test century, equaling the then world record of Sunil Gavaskar, the Hindu newspaper came out with a wonderful article on this legend. The title of the article was Climbing the Mount Tendulkar. In this article, the author, in an interview with Sachin Tendulkar, narrates the life story of this man who has achieved great heights in life. And Tendulkar, in his interaction with this author, tells him, "I'm not a genius, but I am a man who is willing to work hard, to suffer for the cause." When many of my own companions and colleagues were enjoying their life in recreation and relaxation, I worked hard daily 8 hours under the scorching sun. Later, Sachin Tendulkar, after having retired with all kinds of laurels in his life, makes a statement for next generation. And he says, "What I have achieved is not the final achievement. Anyone who is willing to suffer further will break all my records." My brothers and sisters, the readings of the day invites each one of us to understand the meaning of suffering. We need to have a cause in order to achieve it. But to achieve that cause, we need to sacrifice many things we consider to be important in our lives. The gospel is taking a new turn in the lives of the disciples. The first part of the gospels are always filled with miracles. And as I always say, miracles are meant for children. But today onwards, we see another route that Jesus is proposing to his disciples. A route that is filled with thorns and thistles, filled with sufferings. Jesus sets his face towards Jerusalem, and he tells his disciples, "I need to go to Jerusalem. I need to suffer persecutions from the hands of the Sadducees and the Pharisees and the chief priests, and I will have to die." Peter, the great man whom Jesus appreciated so much, now comes forward and tells, "Lord, that should not happen to you." Peter has a reason for saying what he said. He says it because Jesus is righteous, and a righteous man should not suffer. Secondly, he also says, "If this happens to you, Lord, what will be our situation? What about our future? We who have left everything behind, our parents, our profession, our family, what will become of us?" There's a reason for his questioning. But Jesus challenges him with one of the harshest words in the Bible. "Get behind me, Satan. You are blocking my goal." Suffering is part of the life of anyone who sets a goal. Jesus has only one goal: to achieve and to fulfill the will of his Father. The mission of the Father is the goal of Jesus. In spite of his human tendencies to resist it, he accepts the will of the Father because he knows that is the goal for which I have come here on earth. Suffering had been taken on a very negative manner by the whole of humanity. Christianity is condemned as a religion of suffering. People who give in to suffering without resisting. But the meaning of suffering was never evaluated, studied, or explained properly by anyone. You look into the first reading today, Prophet Jeremiah cries out to God, "God, you have cheated me, and I am cheated. You have won the game, but I am still suffering. Each time when I open my mouth, what comes out of my mouth is curse. Lord, I will never again proclaim you because I am suffering. And St. Paul, in the second reading today, from the letter to the Romans, calls each one of us to renew our mind, make our bodies a sacrifice pleasing to God. Renewal of the mind is equal to a transformation, a metamorphosis that we need to have in our understanding and in our commitment. My brothers and sisters, let's dwell a bit on this concept of suffering. All of us do suffer. Let me ask you a question. What kind of a God do you find in the Old Testament? What's the picture of God that is presented to us in the Old Testament? Many of us would immediately say, a punishing God, a harsh God, a God who is callous, a God who is in distance, a God who does not respond to the needs of the people. But my understanding of the God of the Old Testament is, my God is a God of prosperity. A God who gives me everything in double measure when I conform myself to His will and plan. If you look into the Old Testament, we do not have much expressions and explanations about suffering. The only one book in the Old Testament which mentions a bit about suffering is the book of Job. And you know what happened with Job. God, in his interaction or in his bargain with the devil, agrees that the devil takes away everything from Job except his life. Now, Job loses, in spite of the fact that he was one of the greatest men whom God appreciates so much. He is a just man, righteous in his attitude, does everything well for the glory of God. But God allows the devil to play his game and takes everything away from Job. He loses his possessions. He loses his positions. He loses his cattle and slaves. Even all his children were slain. And he gets a gift of leprosy. This is the pathetic condition and struggle of Job. When he is sitting with this sickness at home, his wife comes forward and asks him the question, "Go and ask your God, why should a righteous man suffer?" Job resists this. He says, "You are a foolish woman. Who are you to ask me to question God and His plans?" But at the insistence of his wife, he goes out into the wilderness. There he kneels down before his God, lifts his hands towards Him and asks Him, "God, tell me, why should I, a righteous man, suffer?" God does not answer his question. Instead, God sets before him number of questions. If you read from the chapters 38 to 41 of the book of Job, you will find the questions that God asks, which are in fact ununderstandable for Job. Why are the eagles flying low? Why is the mountain so high? Why is the water flowing downward? Job is standing there, opening his mouth and wondering at himself, "My God, what did I ask you? And what are you asking me now?" God says, "Job, you do not have answers even for these silly questions which I asked you. And then, who are you to question my righteousness?" Job says, "I will shut my mouth and close my eyes. Let your will be done." And you know what happened with Job? When he submitted to the will of God, everything came back to him in double measure. The Old Testament presents before us a God of prosperity. That is not the picture that we have in the New Testament. In the New Testament, we are presented with cross and the crucified. Isaiah, the great prophet, would call the Messiah as the Sahana Dasan, the one who is disfigured, brutally injured, and bloody. This is the picture of God that is presented before us in the New Testament. what is the meaning of cross? Jesus in his teaching very clearly would tell us the cross is a new baptism. In the Sanskrit language, we call it Jnana Snana. Jnana is the awareness, the knowledge. Snana is the bath. It's a new bathing in knowledge and awareness. I would compare it with that of a shower bath. You open the tap, the water falls on you, and you accept every drop of water without any resistance. This is equal to the plan of God. God's plan is to be implemented, accepted, and applied in our personal life. My brothers and sisters, suffering is not meaningless. When you encounter problems and difficulties in your families, in your personal relationship, in your family relationships with your wife, children, and husband, remember one thing. Look at the cross of Jesus Christ. St. Francis de Sales, our beloved patron, would say, Mount Calvary is the Mount of Lovers, where you receive the blessings of the Lord, when you attach yourself to that cross and tell Him, My Lord, I am here with you to be crucified, to imbibe the spirit of your surrender to your Father. Mount Calvary is the Mount of Lovers. Let us climb this mount with that goal which Jesus set to go to Jerusalem, with the same intention to follow the Lord in fidelity and commitment, and to know that the cross that I have in my life has a meaning in the plan of God. Mount Calvary is the Mount of Lovers. Amen.